Level 1. The Career Coma. In 2024, three major stars saw their careers stall, but no one paid attention because their movies were so forgettable they barely made the news. That's the worst kind of failure. Tom Hardy just ended his Marvel run and lost 44% of his audience. Venom: The Last Dance made $478 million. The first Venom, $856 million. That's not just a small drop. It's a wake-up call and a sign of real collapse. Here's what people are missing. Tom Hardy invested heavily in his Eddie Brock role across three movies. Instead of a grand exit, his signature project ended with little notice or impact. The villain Null, a cosmic god who enslaves entire galaxies in the comics, sits in a chair for 2 hours and does nothing. Sony was so afraid to take risks that they forgot to actually make a movie. Hardy's next projects? Small indies, supporting roles. The blockbuster leading man era is over. He's 47. This was meant to be his big franchise. Now he's just known as the guy from the average Venom movies. Jack Black is now the actor studios turn to when they're not aiming for greatness. His roles signal lowered expectations. Kung Fu Panda 4 made $547 million and killed the franchise anyway. The Furious 5, who fans loved, only got 5 minutes on screen because DreamWorks wanted to introduce new characters to sell more toys. Black used to be the school of rock energy, raw, chaotic, memorable. These days, Black simply completes his voice roles for the paycheck, with no risk or apparent passion. And it's working. He's getting hired because he's safe. This is career stagnation, working and visible but drifting into irrelevance. Despicable Me 4 made $972 million, and Steve Carell still can't escape mediocrity. 56% on Rotten Tomatoes. The story is just about Gru getting a new neighbor. The minions get superpowers for no real reason, and it doesn't matter. Even a 7-year-old kid told her dad this movie was worse than Inside Out 2 because they don't learn anything. They just fight a bad guy. If children notice a lack of effort, it signals a deeper creative problem. Carell has voiced Gru since 2010. 14 years with the same accent, no change, and no risk. The animation hasn't improved. The franchise is just relying on its name while Universal keeps making money. Carell just does the voice work and gets paid. But we're nowhere near rock bottom. Level 2. The Talent Hollywood Wasted. M. Night Shyamalan just murdered Josh Hartnett's comeback with nepotism. Trap had it all. A serial killer dad at a concert, the whole venue is a trap, and Josh Hartnett giving the best performance of his career, both charming and terrifying. For the first hour, it feels like you're watching a thriller that could have been Hartnett's version of Taken. Then Mr. Knight's daughter, Suleika, shows up as pop star Lady Raven, and the movie dies. She's fine. She's not the problem. The bigger issue is the story's contortions to make her the hero, including Lady Raven taking reckless actions just to catch the killer. That's not real filmmaking. That's just a dad turning a $30 million movie into a project for his daughter. Hartnett deserved more. He returned for this role, but Shyamalan wasted the chance on nepotism. The movie made $82 million. Profitable. But it should have been Hartnett's comeback film. Instead, he's back in the shadows with another almost to his name. It was a chance gone. Michael Sarnoski made one of the decade's best films, but then Paramount took away his creative freedom. The Pig was devastating, restrained, brilliant. Nick Cage's comeback. After Pig, Paramount gave Sarnoski $60 million for A Quiet Place, day one, and made it clear he shouldn't take any risks. So we got Lupita Nyong'o walking slowly through New York with a cat for 2 hours. Here's the worst part. Within 5 minutes of the aliens arriving, everyone already knows all the rules. Helicopters are even broadcasting, "Be quiet." The entire point of the franchise is that learning the rules takes time and costs lives. Paramount avoided risk, so the result was a $60 million road trip movie titled Day One. Nyong'o gives an Oscar-worthy performance about terminal illness, but it's stuck in a movie that's too afraid to be interesting. Made $260 million with the lowest audience scores in the franchise. Sarnoski's career momentum? Gone. Tim Burton didn't even watch the first Beetlejuice before making the sequel. Beetlejuice made $452 million and proved Burton's heart wasn't in it. He admitted at the Venice Film Festival, "I didn't even watch it before." That's not confidence in his art. That's just creative burnout. I'm exhausted. The movie is packed with unnecessary characters. Monica Bellucci and Willem Dafoe are wasted, and Justin Theroux is just annoying. Test audiences walked out screaming. One woman allegedly yelled, "Tim Burton, you raped my childhood." Burton said he made it for personal reasons after feeling disillusioned with the movie industry. In other words, he needed a paycheck and a win after some recent failures. The movie doesn't have the quiet or sadness of the original. It's just nonstop noise. It looks right, but it doesn't have the heart. For Burton, it's proof he can still make money, but he's lost the magic that made him special. Level 3. When legacy ruins everything. Bill Murray killed Ghostbusters, and nobody wants to admit it. Frozen Empire made $201 million and destroyed any momentum Afterlife built. The main problem is Murray's visible lack of enthusiasm in every scene. He doesn't want to be there. He's phoning it in harder than Bruce Willis in those final video-on-demand movies before his diagnosis. McKenna Grace carries the franchise emotionally but receives little recognition or reward. She's 18 years old. She's the best part of both Afterlife and Frozen Empire. She's giving the franchise genuine emotional depth. And the movies keep pushing her aside for legacy characters who stopped caring decades ago. Paul Rudd, one of the most likable actors alive, stands around and does nothing. The villain looks like a PlayStation 2 boss. 42% on Rotten Tomatoes, lowest rated Ghostbusters ever made. For Grace, this is devastating. She signed on, thinking she'd lead a franchise. Instead, she's a background character while Bill Murray collects a paycheck and looks miserable. Bill Skarsgård is now the guy who failed to replace Brandon Lee, and that will follow him forever. The Crow remake made $24 million on a $50 million budget. Brandon Lee died, making the original. It's sacred. And Skarsgård, who has proven he's a fantastic actor, will forever be known as the guy who tried to touch that legacy and failed. Director Rupert Sanders already failed with Ghost in the Shell. 2 strikes. He's done with major studio films. Chris Hemsworth is box office poison outside of Marvel. Transformers 1 made only $127 million worldwide despite 89% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 98% audience score. It's a good movie. Critics loved it, fans loved it, nobody showed up. This is Hemsworth's 3rd major franchise flop in 2024, after Furiosa and before this. The movie needed to be the Spider-Verse of Transformers. Instead, it showed that audiences don't care about Transformers without Michael Bay's chaos. For Hemsworth, this string of underperforming franchises demonstrates he struggles to attract audiences without Thor. Studios are noticing. After Transformers 1, Hasbro announced they're co-financing film adaptations. One movie killed the theatrical future of a 40-year franchise. But the real carnage is at the next level. Level 4. The star power myth exposed. Ryan Gosling cannot open a movie without Margot Robbie. The Fall Guy made $180 million on a $125 to $150 million budget. Emily Blunt is a massive star. Gosling is coming off Barbie and an Oscar nomination. David Leitch directed John Wick and Deadpool 2. Nobody cared. Barbie gave the impression that Gosling was a movie star, but without Gerwig and Robbie, his ability to draw audiences is limited. Without Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie, he doesn't move the needle. Studios see it. Gosling's quotes are dropping. His next films shrink in scope. Henry Cavill is box office poison, and Superman was the only thing keeping him relevant. Argylle, Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Both flopped. Argylle lost over $300 million. Matthew Vaughn's $200 million ego trip. Cavill left Superman, thinking it would free him to be a movie star. Instead, he's proven that without the cape, nobody cares. He's 41 and now doing streaming TV. The blockbuster leading man dream is over. As for Vaughn, studios won't risk $200 million on him again. And then there's the movie that proved Ryan Reynolds is the only Marvel savior. Because while everyone else was failing, Deadpool and Wolverine made $1.3 billion and saved the entire MCU. Made $400 million profit despite paying Reynolds, Jackman, and Levy $130 million combined. It's the highest-grossing R-rated film of all time. The only superhero film to hit $1 billion since Spider-Man: No Way Home. The only Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU, film to cross $1 billion since Endgame. Reynolds succeeded where everyone else failed because he understands something Hollywood forgot. Give audiences what they actually want, not what studios think they should want. But wait until you see what happened to the people who killed an entire universe. Level 5. The Franchise Executioners. Dakota Johnson's career is over, and she told us herself. Madam Web made $100 million worldwide on a $100 million budget. That's a $200+ million loss with marketing. 13% on Rotten Tomatoes. C+ CinemaScore. He was in the Amazon with my mom when she was researching spiders right before she died. That line is more famous than the movie. It's a meme. It's shorthand for terrible writing. But here's the career ender. Dakota Johnson publicly trashed the movie while it was still in theaters. I don't make sense in that world, and I know that now. You don't do that. You don't trash a studio film before it closes. Sony will never forget that. Johnson had a deal to helm Sony's Spider-Woman universe, starring Sydney Sweeney and Isabella Merced. All of it is dead. She's going back to indies and hoping people forget. They won't. Aaron Taylor Johnson was being considered for James Bond. Then he killed Sony's entire Marvel universe. Kraven the Hunter made $62 million worldwide on a $110 million budget. See CinemaScore. Opened worse than Madame Web. Worse than Morbius. After Kraven, Sony officially canceled the entire Spider-Man universe. Every project, gone. Madame Web, Morbius, Kraven. $465 million spent building a universe that collapsed. Taylor Johnson is now known as the guy who killed Sony's Spider-Man plans. Think he's getting the Bond call now? Jared Leto has now failed at 2 superhero franchises. Suicide Squad's Joker was hated. Morbius became It's Morbin Time. Sony re-released Morbius, thinking the memes meant people wanted to see it. It bombed again. Leto is 52. He's not getting another franchise. Everyone who signed multi-picture deals with Sony? Those contracts vanished. Those actors are now permanently associated with failure. But that's not even the worst level. Level 6, career execution. Cate Blanchett, 2-time Oscar winner, did Borderlands because her kids liked the video game. That's the actual reason she gave. $33 million worldwide on a $115 million budget. Lost $80+ million. 10% on Rotten Tomatoes. D+ CinemaScore. She put on an orange wig and made one of the worst films of 2024 because her children asked her to. This is damage on the level of Halle Berry and Catwoman. Blanchett will spend the next 5 years rebuilding credibility with prestige films and tiny indies. Because she's now the lady from Borderlands to millions of people. George Miller doesn't understand why Fury Road worked, and it destroyed Furiosa. Fury Road worked because of Charlize Theron's magnetic presence and its visceral, practical stunts. Furiosa has neither. Anya Taylor-Joy can't carry an action franchise. The computer-generated imagery, CGI, is obvious. The runtime is bloated. 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. Lost $119.6 million anyway. Critics loved it. The audience didn't show up. For Taylor-Joy, this was supposed to make her an action star. Instead, it proved that not everyone can lead a blockbuster. All her upcoming projects are dramas and horror. No more action franchises. Kevin Costner is 69 years old and just gambled his entire legacy on Horizon. He left Yellowstone, the biggest show on TV. He invested his own money. He planned 4 films. Chapter 1 made $38 million on a $100 million budget. Chapter 2 was entirely removed from the release. Costner put his reputation on the line. At 69, this might be the end of his career as a leading man. He bet everything and lost. But even that's not the worst level. Level 7. They burned it all down. Todd Phillips deliberately destroyed Joker 2 as revenge, and I can prove it. The first film made $1.078 billion, won Phoenix an Oscar. It became a cultural phenomenon. The sequel made $206 million and lost $144 million. Here's what Phillips did. Made it a musical nobody wanted. Set it in a courtroom for 2 hours. Revealed Arthur Fleck isn't the real Joker. He's a pathetic loser who inspired someone else. Then Phillips killed him. Arthur gets stabbed to death in Arkham. D CinemaScore. Second worst in comic book movie history. This wasn't incompetence. This was deliberate. Phillips hated that incels embraced Arthur Fleck. He hated that toxic fans made the first film their anthem. So he made a sequel specifically designed to humiliate the character and punish the audience. He succeeded. Fans hated it. The movie bombed. But it also nuked his career. Warner Brothers will never give him creative freedom again. Joaquin Phoenix's box office credibility is destroyed. Lady Gaga's film career is in jeopardy. One movie, one act of creative sabotage. The consequences affected the entire industry. Francis Ford Coppola is 85 years old and just ended his legendary career in financial ruin. Megalopolis cost $120 million of his own money. He mortgaged his wine empire. He borrowed against everything he built. The film made $13.9 million. He lost over $75 million. Universally panned as unwatchable. This is the same director who made The Godfather and Apocalypse Now. And his final film is a financial disaster and a critical humiliation. Adam Driver gave everything to save it. It didn't matter. The movie is incoherent. Coppola will spend his final years trying to recover financially from the biggest mistake of his life. The Marvels killed Marvel's invincibility and changed Hollywood forever. Lost $237 million, lowest grossing MCU film ever. It didn't just flop, it forced Marvel to blow up their entire strategy. Fewer projects, more quality control. Back to basics. Brie Larson's franchise lead status? Destroyed. She's not getting another solo film. For the industry, The Marvels is the exact moment audiences stopped automatically showing up for Marvel. Superhero fatigue became real. Studios panicked. Entire slates were rewritten. Warner Brothers rebooted the DC universe. Sony killed their Spider-Man universe. Everyone pulled back. One movie reshaped the entire franchise landscape. That's level 7. These aren't just box office failures. They end careers. They are cautionary tales. They show that Hollywood will destroy you and move on without a second thought. Tom Hardy is trapped in a dying franchise. Josh Hartnett's comeback was murdered by nepotism. McKenna Grace is sidelined for Bill Murray's corpse performance. Ryan Gosling is exposed as not actually a movie star. Dakota Johnson publicly ended her own career. Cate Blanchett in an orange wig for her kids. Kevin Costner is gambling everything and losing. Todd Phillips is burning down a billion-dollar franchise as revenge. Coppola is bankrupting himself at 85. Marvel's armor is finally cracking. 7 levels, from slow death to public execution. And in Hollywood, nobody's safe. If you found this story interesting, the next video, 7 levels of blacklisted actors, will surprise you even more. Check it out next.